So this last set of videos will just be how to tie everything we've gotten from Unit 0, all the basics that you've learned, and then all the insert mesh, curve brush, gizmo primitives, Z modeler, and using all of that to start doing simple blockouts. And as far as a simple blockout goes, you don't need to get everything exactly right. In fact, this is just going to be the foundation so that you can turn things in space and start seeing things and problem solving in the round, so that when you go to refine, you're doing it on a solid foundation, even if it's a simple foundation. So what we're going to do is just make a few simple things, let's say like a robot and then a stylized character and then maybe something else. And I'm not going to bring any reference into ZBrush. We're going to do that in the next unit, and that's also when we're going to get heavier into a few more rendering options, because right now we're going to stay nice and rudimentary. We're just going to get some stuff in, we're going to block it out in 3D, we're going to problem solve in the round like I said, and we'll build on this as the course continues. So to start out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the simple brush. I'm going to grab a cylinder 3D, drag it out, go into edit mode. Let's go here to initialize. Let's turn on polyframe, change our V divides down, and our H divides will drop that down to say 12. I'm going to go up here to make polymesh 3D. We're going to turn on X symmetry, turn on our floor to make sure that we're Z forward. And I realize that I'm going to be going fast, and I'm also going to be using my custom menu. I'm going to give you guys a cheat sheet for this custom menu so you can track down the things I'm using. I don't want to bog you down with tons of hours worth of video of me painfully explaining every single aspect of what I'm doing, since number one, you already know what I'm doing, you just might not know exactly where to find it quickly. And number two, this is kind of an overview. You can just watch my methodology and kind of watch me work. So I know I'm going to be going fast, but you can always stop, pause, rewind, all that good stuff. So I'm going to go into Z modeler brush, BZM, hover over curve. We're going to bevel edge loop complete. I'm just going to bevel this top area here down, and let's say we're going to make a robot here. So I know I'm Z forward, so I'm going to go ahead and put some shoulders on this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my hotkey that has my primitive brushes in here. I'm going to go to cylinder 12, and we're just going to drag this over to the side, and this will be a shoulder. So I'm going to go ahead and split those mass points. We'll go ahead and pull these in, and let's turn on LSim so I can do it across local symmetry, and we'll go ahead and scale these things up. Let's go ahead and bevel this edge as well. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate these here, and I'm going to rotate them out a little bit too. Let's go ahead and give this guy a rudimentary head. So I'm going to Alt Tap this this tool right here. I'm going to duplicate it off. I'm going to hold that Control Shift and just isolate this top polygroup here. I'm going to say delete hidden, and I'm going to go polygroups, auto groups, isolate this top auto group here, and we're going to delete hidden, and that's just going to give me this top ring. Now I could have gone to the side and done visibility, but I figured I'd be a little fancier than that. So QMesh, polygroup all, we're going to pull this up, and the only reason I did that is just so I could pull this out. There's a million different ways I could have done that, but that's the way I did that way. So I'm going to go ahead and isolate this top ring, Control Shift drag to invert that selection, delete hidden, we're going to hover over this edge. We're going to go ahead and close convex hole, and I'm just going to give them a little rudimentary dome head. Now, if I don't want them that pointy, I can go in here with my gizmo and I can kind of pull this down. I can also mask just this portion by Control Alt masking. I can kind of bring that down a little bit. I'm going to hit Control W, make that all one polygroup as well. Let's go ahead and turn off our floor since I think we're oriented already. Although if we want, just so I know I have a front face here, I'm going to go ahead and go back into my primitives. We'll grab that cylinder 12, and I'm going to hold down Shift to snap those forward, split those off, and then these will be my eyeballs. I'm going to Alt Tap his body here. I'm going to duplicate this one more time. I'm going to go to the side. I'm going to hold down Alt and tap X, go to Unmask My Center, tap X again, and then we're just going to rotate this forward, drop it down, and then scale it in, and this will be his kind of his pelvis here. We'll treat this as kind of an axle. I'm going to go ahead and move this forward, and then Control Alt, grab these verts back here and move this backwards. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to append a cube 3D. I'm going to grab this cube 3D, I'm just going to move it down here, and we'll go ahead and scale this in. I'm going to go back in my primitive brush here. I'm going to grab cylinder 12, tap X to go across X symmetry. We'll go ahead and put in some cylinders here. Let's go ahead and scale these down, and then kind of move these in and scale them out. Again, we have LSim on, so it'll do it across that local axis. And I can hold down Control Alt, and I can just move these verts in, like so. And if I want to split these off, I can go ahead and just Control Alt select them and split them off. Now, if I want to borrow these cylinders, I can duplicate them, I can move them out. I go ahead and scale them up, And let's go ahead to unmask mesh center again, scale them up this way, and then we'll thin them out. And I'm going to go in here, I'm going to grab a cube. Let's go ahead and split mask points. We'll scale this in. This will be my thigh. I can control drag out this copy, but then I'm going to want to go ahead and split mask points just so I can have a lower leg I can select. Go ahead and scale this back. And I'm going to alt tap this cube. We're going to duplicate this one off, and we're going to go to unmask mesh center, and we're going to borrow this for the foot. So we're going to go down here, scale this out, and we'll give them some a little bit broader of a platform to kind of stand on. Now if I want to start changing some proportions, I can hit W, I can go to transpose selected, I can grab, say, all these ones down here. I can go ahead and scale these down. We can make his legs a little stumpier. Maybe make his legs a little bit thicker. And we'll go ahead and go out of that mode. And I can go ahead and borrow these cubes down here for my arms as well. So I can alt tap this one. We'll go ahead and duplicate this off. Go ahead and move this up. And let's go ahead and go to unmask mesh center here. And we'll go ahead and stick this here. And we'll duplicate this one off. We'll go ahead and I'm going to move that pivot down, and we're going to rotate this. And let's also borrow this shoulder joint here. We're going to duplicate this off, and we're going to move this right down for the elbow. And we'll go ahead and scale that down just a little bit too. For these shoulders here, I'm going to alt tap this one. We're going to go into solo mode. I'm going to go back into my primitive. I'm going to drag a cylinder right on this dot here so we know it's sticking in the middle of that one. And then we can leave that as is, or we can split them off as well. Let's keep playing with these proportions a little bit. So I'm going to turn off X, go to unmask mesh center, reset my pivot, hit X again, and then we're going to turn on move multiple. We're going to grab all of these, and we're going to scale this up. Like that a little bit better. We'll go ahead and turn that mode off. Let's go back into my primitive brush here, and we're going to go ahead and give him some knobby knees. Let's go ahead and broaden these shoulders out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into solo mode. We're going to alt tap this cylinder back here, and we're just going to thicken those up a bit. Now, if you wanted to maintain that bevel, what you can do is you go in here to mask lasso. Just unmask this part here, and we can just move those out. And we haven't gotten into taper deformers yet, but what I can do is I can go in here and I can go insert single edge loop, and I can do this, and I'm going to kind of taper his waist a little bit. So I'm going to hold down Control, go to Mask Pin, Control Alt, select these ones, go to Unmask Mesh Center with X Symmetry turned off, and then we can just scale this in. And you know what? I don't like these eyeballs that much. I'm going to Alt tap them. We're going to go ahead and delete them. And we're going to drag in a cube down the middle here. Split mask points, and we'll rotate this forward. Shrink this down, scale it out, and go through here. I'm going to go to Insert Single Edge Loop. We're going to get rid of this one, and then we're going to bevel this one. Let's go into solo mode, and Control Alt grab these, and then I'm going to, again, X, go to Unmesh Mesh Center, turn X back on, and then bring these in. Kind of scale this in a little bit. And last but not least, we're going to add some hands. For the hands, let's go ahead and go out of edit mode, hit Control N. Let's go ahead and just start fresh. So we're going to go, I'm going to grab just a Poly Mesh 3D here, go into edit mode. I'm going to hit W. I'm going to go into my custom thing here. I'm going to grab a cube just because I know it's a simple cube. Although alternatively, you can just grab a Poly Mesh 3D, go down here to initialize, X res, Y res, and Z res Q cube, and hit Control W. Same result. Now we can go ahead and start making a rudimentary kind of mitten hand. Hit W. I'm going to control drag off a copy of this one. We're going to shrink this down. We're going to snap to the top here. Go ahead and rotate this in. Scale it in. I'm going to move this point in just a bit. And this point in. Now with this one, what I can do is I can Q mesh a single poly. I can pop this off, hold down Control, and now we can just have a kind of a little thumb that we can go through here. And I'm going to take these two, grab a little piece of both of them, do Control Shift A, and I'm going to go ahead and split those off so I can rotate them down a little bit. And I'm going to add 2 fingers to this one. What I can do is I can go to Subtool, I can duplicate this off. So this is a duplicate. I'm going to go into solo mode. We're going to insert multiple edge loops, and we're going to go ahead and bevel this one here. And then I'm going to Alt tap both of these. We're going to do Q mesh, polygroup all, and then hold down Control. And I'm just going to, well, let's group this off, tap Alt, and then hold down Control so I can pull out 2 fingers. And I don't need this palm anymore. That was just for construction purposes. We're going to go ahead and delete hidden. So now I've got 2 fingers here, although really this is just for kind of placement, but I guess we can do this at the same time. So I'm going to go to Unmask Mesh Center, reset my pivot, scale these in just a bit. Let's go to Q Mesh Polygroup Island. Now let's do Polygroup All. So I'm going to Alt tap both of these, and this will treat them as if they're one, and then we'll do Polygroup All. Alt tap these. And that'll be enough for now. So I'm going to Control, Alt, and I'm going to rotate these down, a little more of a relaxed position. In fact, even from the front, I'm going to rotate this a little bit this way, and then this one, go to Unmask Mesh Center, we'll rotate it this way. And we'll go ahead and rotate these down just a bit. If I don't like those proportions, I can just scale them in. And now let's go in here, and let's grab some cylinders, and I'm just going to go through here and add some articulation for the knuckles here. Control drag out a copy. And if you wanted to, it might save you some time if you were spending your time and doing really nice fingers, you can just do 1 finger and then duplicate them around like 5 times. I'm just doing kind of haphazardly, so I'm going to grab these, Control tap to mask, Control tap to invert that mask, Control drag out a copy. Throw some knuckles in here. And then for the thumb over here, we're going to drop a knuckle right through here. And again, we're developing this out of context of the character temporarily, but we're going to be over there in a second. We're just going to add those hands to it. Let's go ahead. I'm going to break this thumb knuckle off. I'm going to hold down Shift, shoot that to the top, Alt tap the thumb, shoot it to the top, merge it down. So now all of these are merged together. And I can hit W, I can Control tap any of these polygroups here, and I can start doing some modifications to this. Try and make this feel a little bit more natural. And I'm going to thicken these up. And again, I don't have to have everything figured out at this point. I'm just looking for major forms to make sure everything's reading how I want. If I like it, I'm going to go ahead and merge all these down. I'm going to look at the hand right here. I'm going to get B, create insert mesh new. Let's go back to our character we're working on. Let's go ahead and drag this out on here. Let's go ahead and do split mass points, and then we'll go ahead and just give his wrist a little bit of curve there. Now, his arms are dragging below his feet, so what I am going to do here is we'll go back into, well, first of all, let's take these and then we'll do split mass points. I'm going to go out of X mode, go to the middle, reset. I'm going to go back into multiple, move multiple. I'm going to Control Shift grab these bottom 2 here. We're going to scale those out just a bit and move these down. And then I'm going to rotate this knee forward a little bit, and then we're going to grab this foot and move this here, and we're going to scale that out just a bit. Let's grab these arms. Let's go ahead and rotate these hands in just a little bit here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a merge visible, and this will throw it into one subtool now, and now it'll be a lot easier for me just to kind of go through here. Let's turn on X symmetry. And I'm going to go through here. I'm going to go ahead and just pop off these major parts, so like his legs here. Do Control Shift A, and I'm going to split those off. So now all of his he's just got 3 major parts now I can kind of manipulate here. So if I can go through here, I'm going to hide his arms. I'm going to make sure his body isn't looking this weird. So Control Shift A, we're going to mask this part here. I'm going to rotate this. Oops, turn off move all. We're going to rotate this out. A little bit of a better flow through his body. Let's balance out his foot a little bit more. And I'm going to give his foot a little bit something to articulate with. So I'm going to go through here. We're going to do insert, single edge loop here and here. And then we'll Q mesh a single poly. I'm going to pop his feet off here. Split hidden. And then we'll Q mesh this up. And then I'm going to take this knee. I'm going to duplicate this whole bottom leg off. Go into solo mode. Isolate just the knee. Delete hidden. Hit W. And then we're going to just drag this down. That'll be his ankle. Let's turn everything else back on. And I think this is enough to get started. Now, if I really quickly want to give this guy just some rudimentary bevels, what I can do is I can, again, merge everything down. And I can go through geometry, crease. We're going to drop that crease subdivision level down to like 20, not that low, 35. And that'll go ahead and get these bevels. So now if I hit D for dynamic, that'll go ahead and give him nice dynamic smooth subdivisions. If I want to crease anything else, I can go through here manually and crease edge loop complete, let's say. And we can also do dynamic subdiv. We'll do a crease subdiv of, or a smooth subdiv of, say, 4, crease level of 3. And that'll kind of give him a little bit of a softer look here. Turn on perspective. And now we got a robot blockout. Actually, you know what? Because it's so easy, I'm going to go ahead and do this as well. So I'm going to do Shift D to go out of dynamic. I'm going to go to inset. Let's do polygroup island region. And I'm going to pop some insets in here. So I'm going to inset these twice, and then Q mesh, polygroup island, hold down Shift, and then we're going to inset this twice. And you don't have to inset twice. I'm just used to it because whenever I do game res stuff and I have to bake, it's better to have like a 45-degree angle to bake to than not. And on this one we can do inset, flat island, for these two. Or 3, I should say. And I can do more to the thumb, but I'm not overly worried about that. I'm just looking for bigger detail that I can add. And then in here we'll do inset, polygroup island again. We'll kind of pull these in. And then we'll just go through Q mesh, polygroup island. Again, hold down Shift, and we'll punch these in. Now, if you had just made a insert mesh brush with these shapes, you could probably save a little bit of time, but my planning was poor. I'm going to go out of perspective mode, hold down Control Alt. Actually, let's isolate this back piece here, do Control Shift A, and now I'm going to unmask this point, and then I'm just going to move these out, and then Control Shift to bring everything back. Oops, looks like I missed one here. Let's push this in. And now I can go through here, go to BI Brush Insert. Let's go to Model Toolkit, see what we got in here. Hit M. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of these big fasteners, and I'm just going to plop those right in here. So I'm going to put a big one up in his shoulder here. Let's put this kind of articulation maybe here. And if that's too pointy, you can go through here with your Z intensity. You can knock that down. We'll put that in his hips and in his elbows here. And then we'll go back to that fastener, and then we'll use that for his knee, and we'll pump that Z intensity back to 100. And his ankle. Once we're done with that, we can hit D again, and there we go. So always remember you can use insert mesh brushes and stuff just for some really quick, easy detail. And we'll get into Kit Bash library stuff later.